any of you who are going through a breakup, go through this breakup intentionally. Like, your emotions right now are all over the place. You're probably feeling like a broken human being. You probably are very confused as to what to do in terms of just how to be. And they say that, it takes 30 days to break a habit. So if, it became a habit for you to be around this person, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be hard for at least the first kind of month. You're trying to figure out a new way of being, but let's talk about how to actually deal with this loss, because it is a loss. Don't let anyone play that down. It is a loss, and you are going to need to go through grief. And I guess what I'm alluding to is, do not just feel that impulse to replace this relationship. Especially with the advent of online dating and dating apps, it's really easy to just be like, oh my gosh, I'm lonely. I don't like being alone. I don't have anyone to do anything with. I need to replace this person. And that goes against everything we know as Christians, right? Because we understand that every single person is unrepeatable. They were made in the image and likeness of God, and that is so incredibly beautiful. And this is why we treat people with respect and with dignity. And I know that people don't always treat us with respect or dignity, but we must try. Even though it's hard to treat others as that, and to just realize that every single person is completely irreplaceable and they are just so special and unrepeatable. I think that's something that is good to acknowledge, not in a way like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to find anyone again, but just in the sense of, this isn't a placeholder that I just need to fill a person in. Like, this part of my life, like me being single, me not having met my person just yet, is also a beautiful part of life, and we need to not just immediately want to fill that gap, because that's such a temptation and that can lead you in the wrong relationships. And when you're in the wrong relationships, then you're going to go through breakups, and this is exactly what we're trying to avoid, because breakups suck and they're so painful. And that's obviously why this whole discernment in dating is so important, because this is what we're trying to avoid. If we're able to discern in a really sensible way, we can avoid these heart-wrenchingly painful breakups. But I know we're not living in an ideal world. I have been there, I've been where you are. It is so hard, especially when this has been someone who has been that person for you, that you text first thing in the morning, that you speak to, that you see all the time. They've become more than just a potential partner, but also a best friend. And I think that that element of losing not just your relationship and your potential future, but losing this humongous friendship and presence in your life is really difficult. But I want to encourage you that you will get through this. Time really does heal, and just the right ways to respond, because we have all been there and not responded rightly. And it can be really easy to react in an instinctual way rather than in an intentional way. And the whole point of why I even started this channel and started doing these videos was because I realized how unintentionally I had been living my life, especially my love life and my dating experiences. So many of them I feel like just happened to me. I feel like I wasn't ever intentionally thinking about what I was really looking for, what my heart really needs, and how God is calling me to the vocation of family life and marriage, which I do feel He's calling me to, because the desire in my heart is so strong for it. But I don't think I was ever really involving God in my dating life. I was just almost going with the flow. I would meet someone and I would be like, oh, we get on pretty well, and I wouldn't necessarily think about values or alignment or future plans, and then time just passes, and before you know it, you realize that you've been in something and you've allowed yourself to get attached to someone who doesn't have the same vision for their life as you do for yours. And of course, to build a future with someone, you need to have an aligned vision, and that probably is going to shift a little bit, but there should be some element of the same path. So don't go through this process automatically. Like, you want to be wise and intentional and figure out, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And how should I move on? How do I not repeat the same mistakes? How do I not go through the same pain? So now you're in this transitional period. You want to transition with intention, not just by default. You don't want to just jump from relationship to relationship. And I'm not saying that can't work, because sometimes I've heard many stories where it's like, then I broke up with this person, and then a week later I met this guy, and then they got married, and it's all happy ending. So I'm not saying this can't happen, But in general, you want to, you know, make sure that you're healed, because I certainly suffered from this when I was younger. Just like I was almost like a serial dater. I wanted this gap to always be filled. I wanted to feel like I had a person. Like, I think for me, something that was really important, and this came from a low self-esteem and low, you know, my own insecurities, was that I felt so much like I needed to be someone's priority and I needed to be someone's person. And if I wasn't dating someone, then I wasn't anyone's priority. And I think that was a really hard pill for me to swallow when I realized, like, A, that is not on anyone else to make me feel, and B, like, thank God I am a daughter of the King, of the true King, of God, and I'm always his priority, because he is, you know, all powerful, all knowing, everything, and he's able to love us like that. And he knows each one of us, right? The Bible says he knows each hair on our head, and he knitted us in our mother's womb. Like, he knew us before we even came into existence. And I need to hold on to that, because that is enough. Like, my inherent value comes from the fact that God created me and that I'm here. So yes, I definitely was the type of person that as soon as I was single, I was like, no one cares about me. Like, I'm no one's priority. I'm no one's number one. And it made me feel so small and so unimportant. And that was completely the wrong motivation to be in the dating world in the first place. And secondly, it was just a really unhappy place to be. And it would make me put way too much pressure on, you know, these men to make me feel whole, when actually I needed to do that myself. So interestingly enough, this has been the longest period of my life that I have been single, and it has been very intentional on my part as well. You know, I've not been on the dating apps. I'm not saying I'll never be on them, but I've not been on them. I've not been outwardly seeking to meet anyone. I've been going to things genuinely because I enjoy them and want to go to them, not because I might meet someone there. Like, that kind of psychotic element of like, where's my husband? Are you my husband? Has seemingly left me, which is an absolute grace. But of course, the desire to be married and have a family is so huge in me, and I think about it not only daily, but like it's just there. Like, it's a very present desire and hope in my life, but not with desperation, which is good. So this season for me has been very intentional. It has been a transitional season to be single, and to, you know, be single and okay, rather than like single and very much looking, or single and very actively dating. I've just been being single and being okay, and working on myself, and yeah, just seeing what God has in store, and being very open to being surprised, and, you know, still going to things, being present places. So it's not like it can't happen. I'm not locked up somewhere, but just, yeah, enjoying it as much as I can. And since I've not been like grasping for this imaginary relationship, I've been able to really be mindful of just my everyday and actually enjoy my everyday, rather than just being very much like, oh my gosh, like I am at a loss, my life isn't full, and that's been really healthy. So I listened to a video by Father Mike Schmitz recently about how to respond to a loss, and I thought it was really helpful when thinking about breakups and how we address those. So Father said that 4 responses to a loss are to restore what you've lost, to replace what you've lost, to redesign your life around that loss, and to relinquish that loss. And I love this, because how many of us have just wanted to replace that relationship, right? Like, we don't want to be single, you'll go on an app, you try and meet people, or like you're so distracted from just meeting new people that you're not healing from what has been lost, from the mistakes that you may have made, from the learnings that you have learned, from the ways you can grow from that experience. You don't want to do that, because that's just an automatic reflex and there's no intention behind that. To restore is a beautiful word, because of course, if like there is a breakdown in the relationship and you're able to restore it through prayer, through therapy, through really putting all of your effort into, you know, meeting this person where they need to be met, can be really beautiful. But if the relationship is beyond repair, beyond restoration, then you can restore yourself. So for me, as I explained, like I used to seek relationships for my own validation, for me to feel worthy, and for me to feel like I belonged to someone, that I belonged to something, and that I had community. I suppose that's what I was ultimately seeking. And that was all the wrong reasons, because they were all very selfish reasons to be in a relationship. It was never necessarily about the dignity of that person. It was more about the status and the need that I had to fill. So what I've been doing is restoring my own like self-esteem and my own love for myself and love of God, and understanding that my relationship status is not what makes me a worthy person. It's not what makes me a successful person. And that's been really healthy. So if you can restore yourself, restore your heart, ask God to restore you, then that is beautiful. And then there is to redesign. So I like this and I don't, because I personally refer to this time as my single season. I don't like to identify as a single person or to talk about singleness in a way that makes it feel like it's forever, because that's in God's hands. And I don't feel it is, just because the desire is so strong that I really don't think this is my forever. So redesigning is interesting, because I don't want to necessarily be like, oh, I'm redesigning my life in case I might die alone, because no, I don't want to do that. But there is an element of redesign. So, okay, now that you're single, you have more time to invest in your family of origin, in your nieces and your nephews, in your siblings, in your church community, in your friendships. Like, these are ways that's like, okay, great. Like, you may have filled your time before with, dates and being with that significant other person. But now you've got time that you can pour into projects, family, community. And that's what it means by redesign. Like, this time is a gift. It's not just a season of passively waiting. It is a time when you can really give, and you can also receive. You can give love and you can receive love through different ways, volunteering for a charity, for example. So redesigning is just kind of like shifting, recalibrating where those focuses are and those priorities are. And, also embracing, there are some nice things about being single. I know that can be hard to hear, but you've got this time to really listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook on full volume and no one's gonna be disturbed by it. Or, read a book in the middle of the day on a Saturday. Like, these things don't need to feel sad, that they can feel also like a gift. So yeah, really embrace that and just see how you can redesign your season right now. And then there's relinquishing. So to relinquish is to truly let go, to surrender. And that's definitely something that I did, because I think I was very obsessed with marriage and family. I really idolized it. Like, I find that the families in my church are so beautiful, and looking at them, I'm like, oh, I really want that. And, I see that as kind of the ultimate goal, and I was trying to do anything I could to get towards that goal. And it really took me surrendering it to the point where I was like, God, if you really don't have this in my plan, please, free me of this desire, for one. Free me of the desire so that I just don't want it. And if not, allow me to just truly surrender this to you in your time, in your plans, and in your hands. And I think in relinquishing that, that's really freed me to actually enjoy my life, because I was so preoccupied with, oh my gosh, I needed to get married 10 years ago, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff, these freakouts, these panics, these thoughts of scarcity and time is running out. And I wasn't coming from a good place. So relinquishing that desire doesn't mean I don't still want it. And surrendering that hope for family life does not make it any less of a desire in my heart. But it's just allowed me to be like, okay, I'm not gonna obsess about it. I'm gonna just let it be. And there's something really beautiful and really freeing about that. So I really hope whatever you're going through, whether it's a prolonged season of singleness or it's a breakup, recent or past, or you still have hurts that you're going through and you're working out, bring that to God, bring it to prayer, and try to just know that you can live this season joyfully. You can transition into this season and out of it with intention, and you don't need to act instinctually, which sometimes is not always the best way for us to act. And you can really bring that intentionality and that joy back into your life. So I hope this has been fruitful and encouraging, and as always, may God bless you, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye.